Hello, Mustafa.
Hello.
How are you?
Very tired.
Tired of what? Sleeping or eating or not working?
School.
Well, what did
I
you
went
do?
to the library today and I've been studying ever since.
What is it, say again?
I went to the library today because I have AP Human Geo exam coming up
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just very tired from studying.
How many questions did you solve?
It wasn't exactly a question, but it was like he gave us a packet and it's like a review guide and then at the end there's a few questions and I answered like I think about 20 or so.
Hmm. So you solved 20 questions and you got tired?
No, it's like you first read through everything, like you read through the chapters and stuff, and you answer the questions on it, like each unit.
I see. Math, Mustafa, if you understand the logic, you can learn really fast. But if you don't understand the logic, always slow down. The logic means that,
Hmm.
again, algebra 1, if your algebra 1 is really good, I think you can learn everything really fast and easily. Usually, algebra 1 is not very strong, every time because of your foundation, your building, it's about not collapse, but uh, you actually approach the questions with a kind of doubt, if I do this one, will it be right or wrong? Blah blah. Why is it so? Because you don't have enough experience. Experience means that the more questions you practice, I mean, different questions, you have self-confidence, and you don't have to spend too much time to learn new things. Mustafa, let's start if you're ready. As
Hmm.
you know, we were talking about quadratic functions and equations. And the first part, it was about graphing. Actually, chapter 3, it was about graphing. But it's about graphing. That's why I skipped. But it's also a very important chapter. But I suggest you to do, open Desmos and do all those questions. And graphing is not really hard, but it takes a bit time. Suppose that if you're not allowed to use a calculator, how should you do that? You need to make a list, right? Table. Like, for example, here, when x equals -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, if you plot a few points, you can see the general picture of the graph. Then you just connect them with points, you will get the graph. But usually nowadays, you are allowed to use a calculator. That's why I didn't want to spend too much time on that. Okay. Now, today with
Hmm.
you, we will practice equations. That is maybe the most important topic in algebra. Why is most important? Because algebra means that solving problems using equations. That's the meaning of algebra.
Hmm.
Why do you learn everything like simplifying like terms or factoring and blah blah blah? Everything actually we learn this to be able to solve equations. And what does solve equation means? You have a problem, you convert this into algebra equation and solve it and analyze. That is what algebra does. That's the biggest job of algebra, to solve problems using equations. Okay. All right. Last time we actually practiced how to, what is it? Factor, right? Quadratic expressions. And once again, every time I tell this, all factoring problems are based on, what is it? Distribution property. If we have a times x plus a times y, a is a common factor, and x and y, they are not divisible by anything except for 1. So we can just factor out, right? That's equal to x plus y. In math, all factoring is based on this rule, simple but single rule. So, how do you solve this? The idea is very simple. What is the standard form of quadratic equation, Mustafa?
Simple form of quadratic equations.
Yeah.
Uh,
The standard form of a quadratic equation is, what is it? Ax cubed
ax squared plus a
bx
equals cx
plus c is
plus
equal to
c.
0.
Hmm.
So this ax squared plus bx plus c is called the standard form of quadratic equation. And how about the
Hmm.
standard form of a linear equation in one variable? Ax plus b is equal to 0. Okay. So now
Hmm.
first of all, you need to write the equation in this standard form. That means I take everything to the left-hand side, write the exponents in descending order from the biggest to the smallest, and we just have 0 on the right-hand side. And after the first, we factor this. And what is a zero product property? Zero product property says that, Mustafa, if you multiply two things, let's say the first thing is A, the second thing is B, suppose that their product is 0. If it is so, this is true if and only if either A should be equal to 0 or B should be equal to 0 or both must be equal to 0, right? Should be equal to 0. Otherwise, the product of two non-zero is never equal to 0. Okay? And after we solve each linear equation and write the solution set as in the set form, the first roots and the second roots. Okay? As you
Mm-hmm.
will understand much better. And if you have experience, it's fine. If not, it's not very complicated stuff. Okay, today, let me use this color. Solve each equation by factoring. It's already in standard form, right? What is the greatest common factor of x squared and 9x?
Uh, the greatest common factor, X.
X, right? So we factor out x, and here we have x plus 9. That's equal to 0. So you see here, we have the product of two things here. The first one is x. So either this should be equal to 0, or this x plus 9 should be equal to 0. Otherwise, this product is never equal to 0. And now by just solving, we can write the solution as the first solution is 0. The next one is negative 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we solve usually in every equation. And question 2, 4x squared minus 8x. What is the greatest common factor of 4x squared and 8x?
Um, 4X.
4x. Okay, if you factor out 4x, what should we write inside the parentheses?
X minus 4X. No,
2.
wait, X minus 2X.
X minus 2, right?
Oh,
And now
X minus 2, yeah.
immediately, either this 4x should be equal to 0 or x minus 2 should be equal to 0. Okay, let me just write, not change the tradition. I just write or. And you know how to solve each equation. We can write the solution. So x is the set of these numbers. The first one is 0, right? The second one is
Mm-hmm.
2. Okay. And how
Mm-hmm.
about question 3? Can you factor this?
Question 3.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't think there's any. Maybe one.
You remember this a squared minus b squared?
Uh-huh.
So that's equal to what? A minus b times a plus b, right?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So here we have x squared minus 2 squared, right?
So X minus 2
X minus 2 and the x
and
plus
X
2.
plus 2.
That's equal to 0. So now from here, either this x minus 2 should be equal to 0 or this x plus 2 should be equal to 0. And that's why we have two solutions here. The first solution is negative 2. The second solution is 2. And you're listing the elements in the set. It's not must, but we should list it from the smallest to the biggest. Mustafa, let's solve question 4. How do we factorize this?
Question 4.
Yes.
Hmm. Mm,
You see all of these numbers, 9, x squared, and 25, they are squares, right?
uh-huh.
Or perfect squares.
Oh.
So
Hmm.
this 9x squared, we can write it as 3x squared.
Weird.
And 25, it is 5 squared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now immediately I remember this formula, so we can use it. So we can factor this as 3x minus 5 times 3x plus 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now if you solve this, this should be equal to 0, or this should be equal to 0. right? So now actually solving
Hmm.
parts, I assume that you can solve without any mistake. Can you tell me what is the smallest root here?
The smallest root.
Yes, two
Um,
roots, right? Which one is
mhm.
the smaller one?
-5.
Negative 5 over 3,
Hmm.
right? Because if you solve
Hmm.
this 3x plus 5 is equal to 0, what is x? Negative 5 over 3, right?
Hmm.
And the second one is just 5 over 3. Okay.
Hmm.
Mustafa, I'll give 1 minute. Can you try this on question 5
Hmm.
in your notebook? Yes, Mustafa?
Um, 3 and 7.
3 and 7. Why? Because if you factor this one is negative 3 times negative 7, and negative 3 plus negative 7 is negative 10. So we can factor this as x minus 7, x minus x minus 3, x minus 7, which is equal to 0. So the roots will be the first one, when 3 equals when x equals 3 is equal to 0. Second one is 7. How about 6? If you want to factor out this one first, what do we do in the first step?
Simplify.
How?
Divide all numbers by 2.
Good. If you divide both sides by 2, x squared minus x minus 12 is equal to 0. Okay, now let's factor this. So the coefficient of x squared is 1, right? Two numbers whose product is negative 12 and sum is negative 1. What are those numbers?
Um, 3 and -4.
Negative 4 and 3. So x minus 4, x plus 3. That's equal to 0. Good. So the solutions of this equation will be negative 3 and 4. Okay, 7. Now try 7. First, write in your notebook. And this is a little bit different question. Also, I think practice such questions, right? When A is not equal to 1. Hadi Mustafa, did you factor it?
Uh, I'm on the X, like this third step.
Hmm?
I'm like, you know the like where you put the two parentheses?
The first, last time, what method did we use? If you remember, number one, we multiply 30 by 3. That's one easy way, right? So at the time, we'll have this equation, x squared minus 13x minus 90. But don't put 0 because these two equations are not the same. But it's a kind of auxiliary method so that I can factor out in this way. And now two numbers whose product is negative 90 and their sum is 13. 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, and 5 times 18. It works, right? So that is negative
Mm-hmm.
18 times 5. So I can factor this as x minus 18, x plus 5. Still don't write equation, okay? So equals sign.
Mm-hmm.
Now we multiply by 3, right? This 30 is multiplied by the leading coefficient. So now I divided by 3, divided by 3. And now I'm going to rewrite the equation here. 18 divided by 3, I can simplify this, x minus 6. And now we can simplify this, right? So move this 3 to the front of x. Here we have 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. Now we have factors. So dot, dot, dot. I'm going to write the solutions. You have to solve each, right? 3x plus 5 equals 0. Let me just write here. So this guy should be equal to 0, or this guy should be equal to 0. And now if you solve them separately, the second one is negative 5 over 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this first one it is 6. Do we have another method? We have another method, but usually this method is much easier and the students, they don't get confused. Another method I can show you in case if you want to try. Give me a second. Okay. So what is the equation, Mustafa? 3x squared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And minus 13
Minus 13x minus
minus
30.
13x minus 30 is equal to 0. Another method is, first, can you just write this one as a product of two terms like 3x and x? And also write this as a product of two numbers in such a way that when you cross multiply and add them, it should give us negative 13. So 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10 doesn't work. But this works. Look, it is 5 and negative 6. It depends on your experience. But if you practice, it becomes really easy. Usually you use this method. You look, 3x times negative 6, negative 18, right? Look, I can write here negative 18x. 5 times x, it is 5x. If you add these two things, you get negative 13x. So that gives us the middle term. So now I can factor this as 3x plus 5, 3x plus 5, and the x minus 6. That's equal to 0. Sometimes this method is really fast. Look, for example, if we can try this, is 5, right? So if I write 6, 2, or 2, it doesn't work. How about if I try like this? Look, 6x squared, I can write it as 2x times 3x, right?
Mm-hmm.
This 4, either I can write it as 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. I don't have any other options. But if it is 1 times 4, does it work? Yes, because this 2 doesn't work, right? So if I write just 1, 4, you see 1 and 4, but it's negative 4. So where should I put minus? I put here. If you cross multiply, 2x times 4, 8x, and minus 3x, that's equal to 5x, right? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Then I can just factor this as 2x minus 1, 3x plus 4. That's equal to 0. And now to make sure that just distribute, you say 2x times 3x, 6x squared, 2x times 4, 8x, negative 1 times 3x, negative 3x, negative times 5x, negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Okay, now 2x minus 1 is equal to 0, or 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. Dot, dot, dot. What is the smallest root, Mustafa?
Um, Smallest root.
Yeah. Solve each equation and tell me the smallest root.
Um, for the first one, 0.5. For the second one,
So why are you thinking that much? Yeah, I thought you can do this very quickly because in general, if we have this equation, right? In general, we have a times x plus b is equal to 0. What is x?
hmm for x,
Minus b over a.
hmm
That's it. So now if you look at the equation, 3x plus 4 equals 0. Move 4 to the right-hand side and divide by 3, right? So that is negative 4 divided by 3. And the first one, move negative 1 to the right-hand side and divide by 2, 1 over 2. Right?
hmm
Okay. But there are things, you should practice in the notebook. Otherwise, Mustafa, solve question 9. I will give you 30 seconds. Write in your notebook and solve it. Because once you get the idea, it's really easy. It's not challenging. Yes, Mustafa.
-5 and I think -2, but I'm not sure.
I think you didn't understand anything. We go a bit slowly. How come it is negative 5 and negative 2, Mustafa? The first, you have to move everything to the left, right?
hmm
2x squared minus 5x equals 0, right?
hmm
Now x is a common factor. Factor out. Here we have x, and here we have 2x minus 5 is equal to 0, right? So
hmm
now you see here we have the product of two things. The first one is x. So this x should be equal to 0, or this 2x minus 5 should be equal to 0. If you solve the second one is already x is alone, right? Isolated. If you solve the second one, move negative 5 to the right-hand side and divide by 2. So that is 5 over 2. So now dot, dot, dot. It has two roots. Number one is 0. Second one is 5 over 2. Right?
hmm
Mustafa, can you write it down in your notebook and after that try to question 10? Come on, you have 1 minute and 45 seconds. Then we'll discuss it together. Do you have phone with you right now, Mustafa?
Uh, yeah, but it's in my pocket.
Can you solve question 10 in your notebook? Take a picture and send it to me.
Okay.
I
Let
want
me
to
just
see
finish
your, yeah, solution.
zero. All right. Let me do it real quickly.
Tamam Mustafa.
Hocam, I can combine like terms.
Look, first you move x squared to the left hand side, right?
Yeah.
So here we have 7x squared minus x squared. And here
Mm-hmm.
we have 8x, right? That's equal to 0. Now 7x squared minus 1x squared. That is 6x squared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus 8x is equal to 0. Now we have only two terms.
Yeah.
What is the greatest common factor of these two terms?
2x.
2x. Just factor out 2x. Here we have 3x plus 4 is equal to 0. Now we have the product of two things, right? So the
Uh-huh.
first thing should be equal to 0, or this 3x plus 4 should be equal to 0. If you solve this equation, you get the first root, 0 divided by 2, it is 0. Or if you move 4 to the right hand side and divide by 3, we have negative 4 divided by 3. Two roots, right?
Uh-huh.
Come on, Mustafa, you should be able to solve these questions really quick. It's a very basic standard questions. Now try question 11. 1 minute.
7 and -7.
Yeah, that's it. You should be able to solve later, a bit later, in like 5 or 10 seconds. Move x squared to the left-hand side. It is x squared. And the -1 to the left-hand side, let's say this 49. That's equal to 0. Even you can solve like this, x squared is equal to 49. You see, if we have x squared is equal to a, Mustafa. And what is x? X is plus minus square root of a. So this x is equal to plus minus square root of 49, which is equal to plus minus 7. Dot, dot, dot. X is plus minus 7. Do question 12. Yes, Mustafa?
Wait, I'm trying to remember all the factors of 81.
Look again, if you have two terms and one is just x and another is term, I mean number, we can use this. It's a kind of simple theorem. Okay. It comes from this factoring. So move this negative x squared to the left-hand side. We have 4x squared,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's 81. Now divide both sides by 4. So here we have x squared divided by 81 divided by 4. So now we have something like this. Look, x squared, and here we have something like this. And also a is non-negative number. If it's negative, it doesn't have solution. And now then what is x? This x has two answers, solutions, plus minus square root of 81 divided by 4. Actually, both of these numbers are square numbers. We can simplify further, right? Square root of 81, it is 9. Square root of 4, it is 2, right?
Hmm.
So it has two solutions. Usually if it is plus minus, we can just write it as plus minus. It's also a mathematical symbol. It's plus minus 9 over 2, which means that x equals negative 9 over 2 and or x equals 9 over 2. Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. Mustafa, let's continue. The most important thing, again, is see here, the most important part is factoring. Can you factor this? The rest is just solving two linear equations. Now try 13. Question 13. Mhm.
Mm, -10 and 8.
Negative 10 and 8.
Yeah.
Good. So first we move AD to the left-hand side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minus AD is equal to 0. So this AD, we can write as 10 times negative 8. And their sum is 2. Okay, it works. So x plus 10, x minus 8 is equal to 0. Did you say negative 10 and 8?
Um, yeah.
Okay, negative 10 and 8. That's correct. Try 14 now. Take everything to the left-hand side. First write in standard form, then factor and solve.
Um,
Yes,
-5.
negative 5, right? We said it in math in quadratic function. Every quadratic equation has two solutions. So negative 5, we said it has repeated roots or coincident roots. So that is x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0. And now if you have a little experience, this is a perfect expression, perfect square, because we can write it as x plus 5 squared is equal to 0. So now usually how do you write this? X1 is equal to x2, that's equal to negative 5. Okay? Just to emphasize that it has two solutions, but they are equal. Or in set form, we can write only like this. And if you say that, why do we have to mention that or emphasize that it has two solutions? Later, when you go to college, when you take differential equations, you will see that actually each root, it produces some different solutions when you're solving more different questions related to this. And now students at this level, you may not understand this, but for a reason, we say that it has coincident roots or repeated roots or equal roots. Okay, Mustafa, continue. 215. Can you do this in 45 seconds?
Mm-hmm. -5 and 13.
Negative 5 and 13. Very good. So let me just write the answer here. X1 is negative 5 and X2 is 13. Okay. 16. If it is correct, no, we don't have to. You're solving without using a calculator, right, Mustafa?
Uh-huh.
Good. Do 16.
-8 and -3.
Very good. -8 and -3. All right. 17. Yeah, two questions left. Okay. Yes, Mustafa.
I'm almost done.
First, you wrote it in standard form, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What it is this prime number? It's really easy to factor, because we have only one choice here. I can write two only as 2 times 1. And now how about this 21? Either 1 times 21,
7,
but
3.
it should be -1, huh?
Uh,
3, 7, right?
uh-huh.
So it is minus. That's why I should put minus here. Okay, when we add this, the result should be minus. You see, -7x and 6x. The sum is -1. So we can factor this as 2x minus 7 and x plus 3, which is equal to 0. So this guy is equal to 0, or this should be equal to 0. So tell me the first solution, Mustafa. What is a
The first
small
solution,
solution?
3.5, and the second one is -3.
Okay, that's why -3 first, and the 3
Okay.
7 over 2. Okay, the question 8, 18.
3 over 2?
3 over 2,
Yeah.
only one solution.
Yeah. But
4x squared, yes, minus 12x plus 9, right?
hmm
It is 2 and 3, 6. Yeah, it's a perfect square. 2x minus 3 squared equals 0. 4x squared, 2 times 3, 6 times 6, 12. That's correct. So dot, 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 x is only one solution. X, repeat this solution.
hmm
Okay, now you have knowledge, you have some experience. As you practice more, you get better, and also you have better, what is it, intuition. Now, Mustafa, standard form, the first one is graph, and we have standard form. What is the standard form again? Standard form is, let me just write here, that is f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, right? That's a standard form of a quadratic function. We have ax squared plus bx. We are talking about this expression, right? Polynomial expression or polynomial. Ax squared plus bx plus c. If you write this, we call this quadratic expression in standard form. And how about if you write ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0? This is called quadratic equation. And how about if I write it as a function, f of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c is called quadratic function. Expression, equation, and function. Okay, so, and
Mm-hmm.
how about vertex form? This vertex form is really important to find the minimum value of the function. In a vertex form is this f of x. If you write this as a times x plus h squared plus k. And usually we just write here minus because it can be minus or plus, it doesn't matter. So that's when I'm writing this, I don't have to write minus. Okay. And you see here, when x is equal to h, y is equal to k. So that is the coordinates of the vertex. Now you'll see in examples, just one example is not enough. So that means that how can I turn this into this form? Okay, look, x squared minus 4x, right? I can write it as x squared minus 2 times 4 times x. And how about 15? I can write it as 4 squared minus 1. I'm just trying to complete this to a perfect square. So this x squared minus 2 times 4 times x plus 6, I can rewrite here. It's just a perfect square. That is x minus 4 squared plus 1. And what is the coordinates of the vertex? When x equals 4, that is 1. Vertex means that, Mustafa, if you draw any parabola, right, or quadratic function, its graph is U-shaped, right? You know that?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen those.
Like, for example, y is equal to x squared. You see parabola. So the 0, 0 is a vertex. And how about if I write here minus 2x plus, let's say, plus 5? So this was the vertex. You see the 1, 4,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or I can write here, let's say this 7x. So what is the vertex? Vertex is here. This one is the vertex. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
if I just write this one, this one, I can write this, look. When you just write the equation, quadratic function vertex form, immediately looking at the equation, I can tell you at what point the graph turns, If it's going up,
Mm-hmm.
it starts going down. It's going down, actually start going up. So it's a kind of, changing the direction. And how about the factor form? Let me write the factor form here, f of x. You see -5 and -3, right? So we can factor this as x minus 3 and x minus 5. Because this one is everything about quadratic functions. If you know these four things, that means you know everything about quadratic functions. And now if you graph this, you see at 3 and 5, it crosses the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, it's a bit small. Let me make it bigger. So 3 and 5, 1 to 3, it is here. 4, 5, it is here. 5. And see here, the vertex is 4, 1. Where is 4, 1? 4, 1 is here. 4, 1. So now looking at this point, you see here, I can draw it as graph. So the graph will be something like this. Coming and going up. Symmetric. Okay, these are the roots or x-intercepts. And this one is the vertex. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Mustafa, let's do one more question and finish the class, okay? Because these questions you need to try yourself. Next time, we can practice more. But once again, Mustafa, if you do not do this question in a notebook, you may have some knowledge experience, but if you want to have, deep understanding, you need to solve them and think and write step by step. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question two. Now, how can I write this in vertex form? You see, -2 is not a square number. So in the first step, I can just factor of -2. Let me continue here. -2 times, here we have x squared plus 2x, right? And
Mm-hmm.
still I keep 6 here. And now this 2x means that, Mustafa, this 2x means that I can write it as 2 times 1 times x. Because usually we use this formula. What is a plus b squared? It is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. That means that if we have expression a squared plus 2ab plus b squared is called a perfect square because it is a square of an expression. So what do I need here to complete this to perfect square? I need to add 1 squared. So I will do some manipulation here. Look. Here I have x squared plus 2x. I add 1 squared and subtract 1. So I have here 6. And now, if you look at this part, it's a perfect square. It's x plus 1 squared. So I can write here -2. That is x plus 1 squared. And now -2 times -1. It is 2. Still, I have here 6. Why? 2 plus 6 it is 8. So I wrote this in vertex form. That is a times x plus. If you remember here, what is it? A times x minus h squared plus k. What is h here? H is -1. You see? So at what point our parabola turns? At this point, at -1. When it's -1 is part of the 0, it is 8. And now if you factor this, how do you factor this? This one, right? If -2 is common factor, x squared plus 2x minus 3. So we can factor this as -2 times x plus 3, x minus 1. Okay, so now we finalize this now. So at 1 and the -3, 1, 2, 3, it crosses the x-axis at these 2 points. These are the roots. And where's the vertex? Vertex is -1, 8. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is here, vertex. And now if you draw this, the graph will be something like this. Okay, these are the points. Okay, Mustafa.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I'm also tired now. Mustafa, have a look. You have this paper, right? This unit.
Mm-hmm.
Try to solve more questions in your notebook. If possible, take
Mm-hmm.
a picture and send it to me. I want to see how you are solving. We will
Uh-huh.
continue on. Where's our next class?
I think Wednesday.
Mustafa, Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Okay. Mustafa, I'll see you on Wednesday, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Bye bye. Night. Yeah.